Bad news does not get better with age. Just like when you're flying, you need to decide if you're going to divert or not.
Most pilots don't understand what career opportunities are available in the world of aviation. They're making career decisions based on advice from friends or posts on internet forums, meaning they are taking huge risks with their livelihood without having all the details. This podcast was created to help you understand the aviation industry so you can find your dream job. Let's get ready for Pushback. Here's your host and my dad, Nick Fialka.
Hey, pilot, welcome to Ready for Pushback. I'm Nick Fialka, and I will be your host today. It's a pleasure chatting with you. It is a super awesome day, and I am thankful that you are tuning in. I want to talk about hard things today. I want to talk about arrests and failures and low grades and all those things that make us nervous. I've done a couple episodes basically about this, but I want to kick it off saying, hey, I'm not a lawyer. This is not gospel truth. This is like what I'm telling you are the things that I have learned through my time observing from the outside and talking to people in the industry. If you have something legal in your life, please consult a lawyer, get great advice from them, do what they ask to do. And labor lawyers are definitely ones to consider. I often recommend to pilots that they speak with a labor lawyer in their state if there's something they have questions about that have real impact and could really do harm in their future. So please just do that. First things first. I want you to think about the applications that people are filling out and how questions are written. That's very important. Some applications will ask you if you have ever been convicted of a crime. Some will ask you if you ever been charged with a crime. Some will ask you if you have ever been arrested. All of those are different things. And so know the question they're asking and answer it like that. If you have some kind of arrest in your life, it could be a big deal or it could not. If it's violent, it's going to be a very difficult hill to climb. But you need to be very straightforward with it in the application so that the person reading it that is going to choose whether to invite you to the interview, if they have already read it and they judge that they think you should come interview despite that, that is really encouraging. So if you choose to disclose clearly is probably the right thing to do. If you do, it's going to certainly be the elephant in the room when you go interview. And it's going to need to be addressed with care and integrity. There are a lot of different ways you could do it. It's probably going to come up in the questions. You could lay it out in your intro. You could pivot and announce it. I've heard of a bunch of people doing a bunch of different things. I had one person that did the intro and said, hey, one thing I do want to talk about ahead of time is this arrest that I had, this DUI that I had that's really been hanging over my head and I'm nervous about it for the interview. And I just wanted to talk about it for a minute to get it out of the way and answer all your questions. That way, I'm a person of integrity. And they walked through it and, it's a minefield in front of you. And you are dancing between the mines, but you are being honest and open and authentic. And when you are your authentic self with that, you have a much better chance of succeeding than if you try to make excuses or cover yourself up or whatever that thing is. It's important that you show that integrity from the top. 9 times out of 10, probably 10 times out of 10, they are going to take that on board, appreciate it, and internalize that and know that you are a person that is straightforward. Bad news does not get better with age. Just like when you're flying, you need to decide if you're going to divert or not. And then when you decide you're going to execute it, you have to tell those passengers, bad news does not get better with time. And so if it's hard to talk about, you're going to have hard things to talk about in your life no matter what. So take your lumps, stand up straight, and make eye contact while you tell them and be honest and be authentic. Because when you are authentic and you are that person that has integrity, they respect what you say and they hear what you say and they understand better. Own it. the worst thing you can do is say that you were young and dumb when it happened. I hear that so many times. Whoever is telling you to say that you are young and dumb, that is terrible. It's a terrible answer. You may have been young, but there's a lot of learning that happens with that. And there's a lot of regret that you can have with that. And you have to be careful how you word it. Because if you dive deep and connect well, they're going to understand who you were then and who you are now. And that is so important. I want you to talk about why you regret it, what effect it's had, but don't dwell on that. More, I want you to tell us what you've learned from it, how you've overcome it, where you are today, and why you're a better human because of that. That's the growth. That is where you find forgiveness from that. I do want to tell you that if you are not honest about it, if you omit something, that truth will come back to haunt you. And I have seen it come back to haunt people before. I have seen a person be arrested for a domestic problem and did not disclose it. And years later, a neighbor contacted the company that person worked for and wrote a letter because he had a dispute with this neighbor. And the neighbor talked about this arrest that this person had had, and the company called the person in and really quizzed them on it because it was not on their application. And that's a terrifying place to be. That would make me scared. I could not live through a career like that because you're just hoping upon hope that you can thread that needle every day. It's too much. It's too much. Even if you're off probation from your company and you're, fully fledged in the union, whatever they call that, you are still not out of the woods. If you get called for some kind of omission, some kind of untruth, then you'll be expected to speak to it. Know that if you're called in, the chief pilot office already has a case against you. That's not a position you want to be. You want to be proactive. You want to get ahead of it. Disclosure is the name of the game. Check rides too. People often talk about check rides, and a lot of times I'll get calls from people that ask, hey, I didn't pass this one thing. Wasn't a check ride, but it was, whatever flight I didn't complete it or what have you, or I failed a test, but it's not a check ride. So does that count? And I'll tell you this, that answer is up to you a lot of the times. And I feel way better when I disclose. When I failed 2 tests and a mid-stage flight when I was in flight school. And I put those on my application because first off, it gave me something to talk about that show that I could recover and be a great pilot over many years despite a failure. It's a good news story. I often get people that have shame and are trying to hide this time that they did not measure up. And I want you to think about that. Are you trying to do that? Because it's easier just to throw it on your application. We do not live in a time at this moment, at the moment of recording. If you have a failure on your resume, on your application, you're still going to get a call from an airline. If you have the qualifications they need, that is something that they want to see you talk about. They don't want you to do carpet dance. They don't want you to hide something. It's not the thing that's going to prevent you from getting the call. And so know that. You stubbed your toe. So what? You recovered. It healed. You're still walking. You're fine. Mishaps. If you have something, even if the FAA investigated or didn't investigate or this, that, or the other, I almost want to say I don't know what to tell you because I didn't ever work for the FAA. In the military, we have 3 different categories of mishaps, class ABC. I think there's a D now, but that's new to me. Those are written in your logbook. It's very clear if you were a part of that. And if you were, you should disclose it. If you did something and pranged an aircraft or something and the FAA was never involved, maybe an opportunity not to put it, but it's totally up to you. And it's the risk, it's what risk you are willing to take with that. And I don't want to tell anybody to cover something up. I do want you to be realistic with what that is. And if you need to talk about it, or it could possibly find its way back, then you should disclose. I'm just a big fan of putting everything out there and let them choose whether or not they want to bring you on board. Because when you hide something and something comes back to haunt you, that's the worst case scenario. And so better to never go there than to have that result. That's in my mind. I hope that's helpful. I hope you guys find value in that. And I think that's probably what I think about the hard things. You need to make sure you are clear about what you're doing and what the results are going to be based on your choices. That's it. Make good choices. Do the right thing, because you're a great person. I'll see you on the next episode. Hey, before I let you go, I need to mention one thing, because a lot of people are asking me, can you do anything? Can you help me with this? And the answer is yes. At Spitfire Elite, we will make more millionaires this year than Major League Baseball will make in the next 5 years. Our company actually does this. It's called Spitfire Elite Interview Consulting. And you can find us over at SpitfireElite.com. Our clients, they call us the easy button for interview prep, because everything you need to crush your interview is there in one spot. Whether it's application review or interview prep, all of it is covered. We've helped thousands of clients who are now flying at their dream jobs because our coaches gave them the one-on-one feedback that they needed to succeed on the biggest day of their life. The best part of Spitfire is our community. All Spitfire clients will get access to our private chats where they can work with each other and they can work with our coaches and get the latest information on all the airlines. If you'd like to make sure that you are 100% ready to go on your big day, there is only one choice. Everything you need is in one place, and I think it's pretty affordable. You'll have to take a look for yourself. Just go over to SpitfireElite.com and check us out. Use the coupon code PODCAST and it'll save you 10%. And by the way, I will see you on the next episode. The statements made on this show are my own opinions and do not reflect, nor are they under any direction from my employer.